Today is March 14th, 1983, and I'm here to interview Samuel Weintraub, who is a survivor of the Nazi Holocaust. I'm doing this under the auspices of the Southeastern Florida Holocaust Memorial Center, Incorporated. The purpose of the interview is to add to the oral history of the Nazi Holocaust, so that through this living memorial, future generations will know what happened. With this knowledge, hopefully we can prevent any such occurrence in the future. Mr. Weintraub, okay. First we're going to start talking about the town from which you came. Will you tell me, where were you born?
I was born in a small town called Bodzentin. It was near Kielce. Kielce was a big city. And it had only 300 Jewish families.
What year were you born?
In 1911.
And did you grow up in this?
In this town, yeah.
Will you spell the name?
Weintraub.
No. Would you spell the name of your village where you were born?
Bodzentin.
And you said it was near a large city?
Near a large city, Kielce.
Can you spell that for me too?
Kielce. That's how it used to spell in Poland.
About how many people lived in your village?
Total people?
Yes.
About 4,000.
And how many of those were Jewish?
300 families, which you counted about between 12 and 1,500 souls.
Before the war, was there any particular organization in your town that helped the Jews with all of their needs, their political, social, religious needs?
Yes. First of all, it was a Jewish community. An organized Jewish community by law, where there were people elected and they had the right even to levy taxes on people for all the needs of the Jewish community. And it so happened that 17 years old, I was the secretary of this Jewish community, and my grandfather was the president of the Jewish community.
It was a family affair. What was this called? Did this have a name?
A kehillah.
This was the kehillah.
Kehillah.
Your family was very influential then.
Yeah, well, we were active.
What was the function of the kehillah?
First of all, the religious needs, like slaughtering a shechet and a rabbi in a mikveh, you know all these terms, and sick people and other things, everything what they needed. I mean, if they couldn't do by themselves, they came to me and to try to solve all these problems.
It served many needs, their medical needs and their
as much as we could,
How did most of the Jews in your town earn their living?
Merchants. They didn't have any banks, they didn't have any minings, and there was no heavy industry, just merchants.
No professional people?
Very few. There were very few. There was a couple accountants and a couple and one doctor. Very few professional people.
What was the major industry in your town?
There was no industry at all.
Was it a farming community?
No. Just a community like it were. There were, in Poland, were 850 Jewish community. Out of the 850 Jewish communities, there were probably 80% did not have any industry. Just they lived from merchandising.
Can you describe the different ways that Judaism was practiced in your town? For example, the Hasidim or the Kabbalists?
Yeah, there was only one kind. It so happened in our city was only one kind. Sure, there were a few people who were not Orthodox, but they were not organized. It's just single people who had different ideas in Orthodoxy, but 95 or 98% were Orthodox people.
These individuals, did they have the advantages of belonging to the Kehillah too?
Yes, sure, they had to belong. According to the Polish law, every Jew had to belong to the organized Jewish community, to the Kehillah.
Were there any Zionist organizations?
Sure.
Can you tell me about them?
Yeah, in our house, for instance, there were 6 children, and almost everyone belonged to a different Zionist organization. There were General Zionists, there were Mizrahi, this is religious Zionists. There were revisionists from Begin's party, and also Palestinian, this is the labor Zionists. So in our house, everybody belonged to a different organization.
You mentioned the revisionists, which were Begin's
Begins,
party.
yeah.
Can you tell me what that was? What did that mean?
That means there were, the aim was Israel, a great Israel on both sides of the Jordan. That means what they're asking now, the West Bank, the Judah and Samaria. The revisionists did not agree with the official policy of the labor Zionists or of the general Zionists, but who said that we have to, through political means, to achieve our goal, but they had other means to achieve their goal. They were military-minded.
Were you exposed to Begin? Did you meet him at all?
Yes, one time he came to our house because my sister belonged to his party. So he came to the house and he spent maybe a half an hour, and that's all.
But you did not agree with him?
No, I did not agree. It went so far that I did not want to even talk to him.
Were there Jewish schools too?
No,
in your village?
No. There were schools, what we call a cheder. We went to the cheder and then to the elementary or public schools.
You were able to go to public schools?
Sure. Yeah. It was a must to go to the public school. I personally did not go to public school only 2 days. When I was a little boy, so one day I went to the first grade, so the principal called in my father, says he's too good for the first grade, so he took me to the second grade. And the next day he says he's too good for the second grade, and I stopped and I had a tutor coming into our house, and
But this was not the usual thing.
No, unusual. That was unusual.
And the public schools were schools that the Jews and the Gentiles went to?
Yes, the Jews and the Gentiles. But when the non-Jews, the Gentiles, had this whole religion in the school, because all of them were Catholics, we had only a certain hour where a teacher came in and taught Jewish religious education.
I see. What was the relationship between the Jews and the non-Jews?
Well, it's hard to describe in one word, but at the surface, was it good? Well, we had friends, Polish friends, a Polish customer. They all came, they all knew us, we grew up together, but they looked upon us as a strange element, parasites, all kinds of names they called us. But at the surface, you would think, if you would come into the city, that everything is fine.
What other evidences were there of anti-Semitism before 1933?
Well, first of all, they encouraged the Gentiles to open stores as a competition to the Jewish people, to the Jewish merchants. You see, this was cut off the lifeline of the Jewish people. That was the main thing. And there were other small things. Let's say there was a different type of the Internal Revenue Service, like here we had over there also like a monster like this. So they came, instead to go to the Gentiles, they went in always to the Jews. It's not like here you fill out a declaration or a tax form, you send in, and that's all. Over there, the agent came in and he looked around and he says, you have to pay 500 zlotys for what? He didn't have to tell you for what.
Right on the spot.
But if you're not going to pay, if you're going to take out all your merchandise, all your belongings, even your beds, you will take out and sell it on an auction. And but with the Gentiles, they did not. In the bigger cities, there was a bigger problem with the schools, with the high schools and universities. There was numerous clauses. They did not let in only a certain percentage of Jewish boys, and they had to sit in the back of the school. Sometimes they didn't have, they had to stand.
Let's talk a little bit about how your own family lived in your town during these early pre-war years. Now you said there were six of you, six children.
Six children, and father, mother, and a grandfather also.
Who lived with you?
With us, yeah. And we had a yard goods store. When I was about 13 years old, I already went to buy goods in another city, in a big city, to buy goods. We brought the goods and we sold it to the whoever came in. I mean.
Were you the oldest child?
I was the oldest, yeah.
So you had brothers, sisters, younger?
We were 4 brothers and 2 sisters. Unfortunately, 5 weeks ago, one brother died in Israel, who was there 48 years in Israel, left in 1935.
Well, let's get back now to your parents. Where were they born?
In Poland, in the same city.
And what about your grandparents?
Also in the same city were born.
What schools did your brothers and sister attend? The same?
Public school, the same thing. Public school and Cheder.
How far were you able to go in school before you had to quit and just work?
Till the 8th grade.
8th grade, then how old were you at that time? About 13?
Yeah.
Did you belong to any organizations?
Yes,
Jewish or Gentile?
I was the founder at 14 years old in 1925. It was in March. It is 58 years ago. I founded the religious Zionist organization in our city on the attic of the shul, the synagogue. Because we didn't have any other place. We got together a few boys, and we said we're going to be an organization. And I was the founder, and I was the president of the organization Religious Zionists. And since then, they know me in Israel, all the big shots, they know me. I used to go to the conferences.
You have a long career of helping Israel,
Yeah.
I know. Did your family belong to organizations, too?
No, but they tolerated. They had no choice. Where they going to belong? To my organization, to my sister's organization, to my brother's organization? They tolerated, do whatever you want. The main thing, no communists.
There were no communists
No.
in your family,
Not only my family, I don't remember a communist in our city.
really. What did you and your family do for recreation? Do you remember?
Nothing. Got up in the morning, went to shul. My father learned, prayed, came home and ate breakfast and went to the store. In the store, in the store he was the whole day, and in the store we made politics also. We start arguments, we start gossiping, one about that. And then he went back to shul, and that was the whole recreation.
Were there any cultural activities at all? Did you
No,
have music
not for the parents. The youth had some cultural, musical evenings once in a while, and we got together at meetings. And the meetings were our only recreation because that was the place where we could argue, where we could let out steam, at the meetings. We created specially problems. We created problems to have arguments.
So your recreation was all intellectual.
Actually, it was.
How did you and your family get along with non-Jews? You said that they would come into the store.
Yeah, sure.
too.
We got along fine, but I don't remember the year, but it so happened across the street a Gentile opened a store, a same-yard goods store, with the help of the government, with the help of the IRS, and he took away a lot of customers. But otherwise we went... During the war, I'm just skipping, we're talking about the relationship with
non-Jews.
During the war, there was an underground, a Polish underground.
May we talk about that?
No, because I'm talking about the
Related to this.
relationships.
Okay.
The leader of the Polish underground in our district was a friend of mine, not only a friend, we were born and raised together. So he once sent a message to me that the Germans want to kill me. I should be on the...
Look out. Did any of your immediate family serve in the armed forces?
No.
Not in the army at all?
No.
Died. What were you hearing about the Nazi movement in other countries?
Oh, we knew everything. We had the Yiddish papers, Jewish papers. I read Polish papers. And sometimes I read German papers too. And we knew what's going on. Since 1933, I think it was, when Hitler took over from Hindenburg, And he started yelling that all the evils in Germany is only because of the Jews. So we didn't pay too much attention. So what? A politician is yelling. And besides this, the older people remembered the First World War, where the Germans were occupying Poland, and they were very good to the people.
The Germans
had good relations, yeah.
were good to
the Jews. Yeah, they had a good relationship. They did business with them, and we thought it's going to pass by.
So you heard that these things were happening.
Yeah. Then it came 1935, and we heard he rose to a very big factor in European politics, and it started a movement to go out, to leave Poland, but it didn't catch on. There were 3,300,000 Jews in Poland. Maybe 25 or 30,000 people left. That's all. Then in 1938, there was a story. They took all the Jews who lived in Germany, who came from Poland, especially from Galicia. They were not citizens of Germany. They were not citizens of Poland. They called it Staatenlos, stateless people. But they tolerated them till 1938, and they tremendous business they did in Germany and in Austria. They had buildings, and they were in the import business. All of a sudden, one night, I remember like today, one night, they rounded up most of those Jews and threw him over the border in two places. One place was Katowice. It was a big city in Poland. Katowice.
How do you spell that?
Katowice. Katowice. And the second place was a small village, Zbonszyn. Zbonszyn. Thousands of Jews came to these two places, and with the children. Tell it to stop.
I think we would.
So in Zbonszyn was the biggest tragedy because there was no Jewish community around this place. The nearest one was Poznań, which did not have a big Jewish community, not an organized community. They couldn't cope with these problems. And the people were there so miserable, unbelievable miserable. But on the other hand, Katowice was a big city, organized Jewish community, and the few thousand people who came were dispatched right away. I was one. They called me up in the night. I had to come. I used to live nearby there. I had to come right away to Katowice to help out in solving this problem. So first of all, we put up a kitchen. We have to give him some food. And people send in bread, bakeries send in bread, and people send in sweaters and underwear. And then we organized, we asked a person, from where did you come originally? So he says he came from Krakow. Here you got a ticket to Krakow, you have to leave. From where did you come? I came from Nowy Sącz, city. I just remember the names. I asked them this. Here you got a ticket. No matter what, you have to leave. to your hometown, 90% of people left. We did not let go this problem till we solved it. Only 10% people which did not remember, they were old people, they couldn't go back. This 10% people, we had to give them food and all the other things.
Excuse me, this was done by just a volunteer group of people who got together?
Volunteer group, the Kehillah. The Kehillah in Katowice.
The Kehillah was responsible for doing
and
this.
I remember there were two rabbis, Rabbi Chamaides and Rabbi Fogelman. Dr. Fogelman is still alive in Israel. And there was a man by the name Abraham. He was the director of the Kehillah, a very energetic person. Unbelievable. Day and night he worked on this. And there were rich people in this city, Katowice. And we tried our best to solve this problem. They shouldn't stay there. And then after 38, we didn't have too much time. We were divided. 50% of people said this is just a passing... So a war is a war, and we know in the First World War there were people killed, and this war will be killed. And that's the other 50% said, no, this is more... The 50% people who said this is a more serious problem read Mein Kampf, the book of Hitler published, and they understood, and he openly said it, that his goal is to liquidate, to annihilate all the Jewish people. But there was no way to get out. America didn't let in any people. It was a quarter. In Israel, Great Britain, England did not want to let in the people to Israel. So there was no place where to run. The people ran to Cuba, people ran to Mexico, people ran to other countries, but in small amounts. It didn't mean a thing.
People didn't feel that it was going to touch them.
Yeah.
Right.
And even if it's going to touch, let's say in the First World War, in our town, there were 6 Jews killed. They were killed 6 Jews, not because they were Jews, they had some dealings with the Germans, and it was not because they were Jews at all. So we thought this is also, but to take and slaughter everybody, that was unthinkable. This was not in the history, such a fact.
But your first actual experience with the Nazis then was when you helped these Galiciana who were pushed over the border.
No, this was not with the Nazis. We did not have nothing to do with the Nazis.
Well, this was your first experience.
Yeah.
So you knew what was happening.
Nazi. I want to correct one thing, and maybe I'm wrong, because this goes on a little discussion among the Jewish leaders, if we should call it Nazis or Germans. I am in the opinion that we should not call them Nazis, Germans, because there was not one German, even he did not belong to the Nazi organization, who did not know what's going on. Maybe there were a few good Germans too, a few, but the exception confirms the rules. They all knew. That's why I don't say Nazis, I say Germans.
On what date did the war break out in Poland?
On September 1st, 39.
1939.
39, they invaded Poland. It was a Friday morning.
Where were you living when?
And in the city,
your village?
And they came to our village around September 5th or 6th, I don't remember, because they had to cross Germany. Between Germany and Poland was the part what you call Galicia. So they had to cross in certain places till they come. In every place they had a little bit resistance from the Polish army, a little bit resistance. Except in Warsaw, they had a big resistance, and in Danzig, they had a bigger resistance. But otherwise, they had a little resistance. The Polish army had to show something, they're doing something. They had a little resistance, so they came to our town, I think the 5th or the 6th, which I don't remember exactly. And the first thing they marched in, they shot 6 Jews, for no reason, 6 Jews on the street.
Were you a witness to this?
Yeah.
This was your first encounter with the Germans?
Them, yeah. Then...
How did you feel?
I can't describe how I felt.
Were you frightened for your own safety?
Frightened for my safety, frightened for the safety of my family, frightened for the safety of the city, frightened for the safety of the whole Jewish people. I mean, and I heard from other cities they were worse. There was in one city they killed the first day 300 people. And so they came in, and the first thing they called in the mayor of the city, and they told him they want to have a Judenrat. You know what is a Judenrat. He should pick out the eldest, and they should be the Judenrat, because they cannot be in contact with every Jew. They will give him the orders through the Judenrat. No, my father was picked out but I paid off. I remember 75 zlotys. He should get out.
You didn't want him to be a member?
No, I didn't want him to be a member of the Judenrat. And there were others. And it was formed a Judenrat of 6 or 8 people, and they made their outpost about 10 miles from the city. Where there was the Gestapo, and there was the SS, and there was the SA, and there was the militia. There were all kinds of people who knew about this. The first day I didn't know even one had a red lapel, one had another, and there was he introduced himself as the commandant of this outfit, and he gave out orders. First of all the businesses have to be given away. There were a type in Poland what you call Volksdeutsche. Volksdeutsche mean the two things. First of all, they were born in areas which belonged previously to Germany, but Poland annexed them to the territory. And secondly, there were Volksdeutsche who married Polish people. They should be not the owners, but it's called a Treuhändler. I don't know how you say this in English, like the spokesman, like the responsible people for these businesses. Secondly, we had to have a ghetto. The ghetto in our city, since it was small, it was not with a barbed wire. It was not with others like in the big cities. It was just marked down. You can walk only to this and this street, up to the river, and up to this place, and no more. You cannot. Then they started to ask for goods. First of all, they asked for food.
For the
Food.
Germans.
For the Germans.
For the Germans.
For the Germans. They asked for food. So we had to provide them food. Whatever we could, we had to provide them. Secondly, one thing you could buy a German with coffee, morning coffee. The coffee, every single week they need 5 pounds of coffee. And we didn't have coffee. I myself never drink coffee. We had chicory. Coffee was too expensive to have. But we had to go and buy from the bigger cities and give them coffee. And then other things, and every time when they came into the city, they shot either 1 Jew or 2 Jews, just for the fun of it. Just for the fun of it. I once sat down with them because I was the previous secretary of the community. I knew all the intricacies, all the small things what going on in the. So the unit consulted me what to do. And also, I was very friendly with the Polish. Here I would say not a governor but a county official. I was very friendly with him, and they had to give us food too. We had to give him certain foods, but the basic foods like flour, bread, things, they had to give us ration. So they asked me I should go to this county official, and I went to the county official and I paid him off already, and we got food also.
Meantime, was your father's business taken over?
No, taken over by another, but my father was in the business, and he had to give a report to this Treuhand.
He ran the business.
Yeah.
He continued.
But he didn't have to say nothing. You gave him a bottle of vodka, that's all, a few zlotys. So they started to demand. It came a time that you just couldn't. So they threatened us. They gonna kill us. Gonna kill us all. So one time I was sitting here with the Germans, with the SS. That was before the war broke out with Russia. The Russian war broke out, I think, on a Sunday or a Friday, the 22nd of June. And a day before, the head of them mentioned something that's going to be news with Russia. He mentioned.
Who was this that mentioned
the German,
it? One of the Germans.
German. So a slip of tongue, I said, with Russia, you will not have such an easy thing like with Poland. So he drew the revolver and said to me, I'm going to shot you right on the... I told him, I didn't mean anything. I just told you that's what everybody knows, that Russia is a strong country and a big country. In the winter is... And the others begged him, so he did not shoot me. It's just a slip of the tongue, just the tongue. The next time, well, I'm just telling you because we could talk about hours and days and days. I'm just telling you what was in the ghetto. When one time they came in, they ordered some also coffee and leather goods, and we couldn't get it. So they went with the revolvers in their hand through the streets, and they looked for me, because I supposed to get it from another city, from a big city. And I overheard, because they used to scream, to make an impression. They used to scream in the street. Everybody was inside because we were afraid. But I heard, where's the Weintraub? Where's the Weintraub? So I went out, in spare of the moment, I went out. We had a house in a yard. It was a little shed. And my sister was in the yard also. I told her, close me up in the shed, in the front. It was locked, with a lock. And they came in with the revolvers. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? My sister says, he's not here. They looked, they saw it's locked outside. So they went away. They went away. It is indescribable. You can't. To be under fear for years, you know, to have a sentence.
Now, let me ask you, the ghetto was created in what year?
Right, 39.
In 39.
Yeah.
Are we rolling?
Now, one time, then it came the final solution for the city. They had a program. The Germans didn't do a thing without a program. Everything had to be programmed. Everything had to be to the minute, to the day. So our city was evacuated October the 3rd, 1942.
Your city was what?
Evacuated.
Evacuated.
To Treblinka. Treblinka was worse than Auschwitz because Treblinka nobody came out. And Treblinka was just a death camp. Auschwitz was a death camp too, but Treblinka nobody came out. Just they brought in the transport in the wagons and they threw him in right away in the gas chambers, and that's it.
Are you telling me that your whole village was sent to
Treblinka, yeah.
How were you transported?
And we didn't have a railroad station in our city. We had to travel about 18 miles to a nearby railroad station. So they gave an order to the villages, to the non-Jewish villages, they should come with horse and buggies, and they took everybody. First of all, they came about 4 o'clock in the morning. They came, and they gave an order, and we knew, although we were sleeping, we knew they are here. We knew they are here. They gave an order, alle Juden raus. All the Jews should come up. They were not on a square. Also, they were, a week before, they took out from small villages where there lived 50 Jews, 100 Jews, you know, there were small villages, 30 Jews, even 10 Jews, you know, they transported from around our city, our city.
Were you aware that this was happening?
Yeah, we saw it.
You knew that this was happening, so did you feel that it was just a matter of time before?
Sure, we knew. We knew because it was in a Jewish holiday. On Yom Kippur, they took out the city next to us. On Yom Kippur. And I remember we couldn't go to shul because the shul was burned before. That's another story. The shul was burned before. And we knew that after this is our next. There was on Sukkot, the holiday of Sukkot, they came to our city. Remember, I was the cantor. We had a mini Yom Kippur. Despite all these things, we had a mini Yom Kippur. We had a big mini, but there were 60 people, 80 people. And I was the cantor, and I prayed, I davened Kol Nidre, and the end Milah. You can't imagine how many tears on the floor there were.
What, was the Judenrat able to do anything?
Nothing, just to fill out
What was your
orders.
feeling about
Just
them?
nothing. Even in the small cities, the Judenrat didn't do a thing. Just to fill the orders of the... I had to fight with my mother. I told my mother they wanted certain goods. We had yard goods. There was not velvet, corduroy. When we had corduroy, I remember I said to my mother, give him the corduroy. Let him go to hell with it. My mother says, oh, you see, my son wants me to give away everything. So they came in 4 o'clock in the morning, you in the house, and they counted. Everything was in order with a count even. 3,000, I remember like today. 3,850 Jews they took out to this railroad station and to Treblinka. Among others, there were my sisters. No, my sisters were in another city, wait. But all other family. And they picked out 29 Jews to clean up the city after this Aussiedlung, after the repatriation, they called it. And I was among the 29 Jews they picked out.
The rest of your family went?
No.
You were separated?
A few days before, I sent my family to another city. We ran like mice. We didn't know where to run, but thought maybe the other city will be better.
How were you able to make this escape?
I had not a passport, but a permit to go from one city to the other city.
How did you get
Because
this?
I supplied the all the things which I was one of the suppliers. I had because I was in the city the whole Mache. But I was not the Judenrat. I never wanted to be. Not my father. So we. After they picked out the 29 Jews and they located them in our house, because our house was the nicest house in the city. There were 4 big rooms, on one floor, with an attic over there. So all the 29 Jews were in our house. And we started to clean up the city. We found Talmuds, we found merchandise hidden, we found all kinds of things were hidden. While there were they gave the order, all the Jews aroused, there were 3 people who couldn't go out, they were sick. There were 2 grown up and 1 child. So they came in, they checked, and they found those 3, and so the 2 they shot right away. 1 in our house. They shot right away in bed. The child they took out and put us in a corner on the street, and they played target shooting.
You were not witnessing.
I saw it. I saw it. I'm not telling you stories which I didn't see. If I would tell you stories what I heard, but I saw it. I was standing there, and I saw it in the practice target shooting on the child. So after a few days, they came. After a few days of cleaning up, I got an order, I have to come to the police. They had the station on the police station, the local police station. And they sent a man, a German, SS man, but he was from the older generation. He was not the young, he was in the older generation. He told me he was at the First World War II at the end. So he came to me and he says that Herr Dunke, this is the head of the, wants to see you. Ask him why. He says he wants to see you. This was a Saturday night, a Saturday afternoon. Well, he wants to see me, so he took me and we went over there. On the way going, it was maybe 2 minutes of walking, 3 minutes of walking. He says to me, Weintraub, it's no good. So I ask him, why? What is it? What happened? He says, no good. No good. I couldn't get out from him no more than these words, no good. We came to the police station, and the Dunke says, you did your work, now you have to go. We're going to shoot you. I said, fine, you're going to shoot me, fine. But let me go say goodbye to the people with whom you can send in somebody to know I am going to go with you, and you should say goodbye to the people.
Who were you going to say goodbye to?
To the 29 people that
worked with you.
Yes. You know, in a time like this, strange people becoming like more than brothers and sisters, you know. So in Poland they used to build homes. Is between one home and the other was a little alley. It was a little alley. And the entrance to our house was in the front, into the alley. So I went through the alley. I came into the door and I said to him, you go in first, you are the... And I closed the door and I ran away. That was taking a chance. I don't have to tell you. And I ran away. I had with me the permit to go to another city, but this was in the evening. I ran away and I was hiding in a house abandoned by a Jewish family. And I was hiding, and this man, this SS man, looked for me a half a night. He looked and he asked the Poles. I remember I overheard, across the street where I was hiding, used to live a family who were our customer. So he asked her, did you see the Weintraub? She saw me going in there. And she says, no. And they went away, and I heard they went away because they were going to the cars with the wagons, and I picked myself up and I went through a forest. And I went to another city, to Starachowice, went to another city. By the way, this woman, after the war, after the liberation, I came to America. She asked for some medication. She knew the address, and I sent the medications. This Polish woman.
You sent it to Poland?
Poland, yeah, because she saved my life. If she would say one word, so I felt a moral obligation. I sent some medication. So I went to this other city, and I had my father over there. I sent out my father, my mother, my sisters. I sent out over there.
They were all in Starachowice?
In Starachowice, yeah. A few days later, this was the 23 days later, it was 27th of October, I think. It was also the same story. Judenraus. There was already a bigger city. There was a city from 500 maybe, 2,500 Jews, and also get together from others. There were 3,000 Jews. And they put us on this place, on Appellplatz. And they picked out, in this Starachowice was a factory. They made over there weapons. The Polish government had a factory of weapons. They picked out about 500 people. They picked out from this group. And I was picked out, my father was picked out, and my brother was picked out. But 500, the stronger people, they looked and they sent us to this factory to work. They had barracks, not to the factory direct, but they had barracks. And they sent us over there to the barracks, and I don't have to, the rest went to Treblinka.
Your mother?
No.
Your...
No, the rest of the 5,000 people, the 4,000 to 5,000
Where was
people,
your mother and were your sisters?
Mother and the sisters went to Treblinka. So they picked me up. So there were 3 barracks. So they put my brother in a different barrack, me in a different barrack. Not intentional maybe, but it so happened. In my father to a third barrack. And the barracks were not close. It has, in order to go from one barrack to the other, you had to have a permit, and you had to have somebody to go with you. I couldn't see them, but somehow my brother was a ladies' man. So he got in touch with the Jewish ladies over there who worked in the factory. I don't know, he could come and...
He came to see you?
He came to see me, yes. Then we went, he had the permission to take us all together to another camp, a little camp, where there were only 199 people.
Now this was a labor camp?
A labor camp was 199 people. I remember 199 because I was making the list. It was 2 people, the doctor and myself made the list of the 199 people. So we came over there, we were all 3 together. It was already over there in this labor camp, they made the boxes for the weapons, for munition. Boxes.
What was the name of this camp?
Starachowice.
Oh, this was Starachowice.
All Starachowice.
And what were the living conditions there?
Terrible, but better than it was over there. Terrible. If it was smaller, it had to be better. If it was smaller, it had to be better. So we came over there, and we worked. One put on the nails, one put on the boards. How did I meet my wife? She was there in the camp, in this small camp. She had a dispute with her sister-in-law. They killed her brother. In the camp they killed him. That's another story. I didn't see it, but that's why I don't want to. They took out 4 people, they dig their own graves, and they killed them. It was unproven. So she had a dispute about some inheritance. He left a ring, he had 2 rings, or a watch. I don't know. It was some kind of a dispute. But what do you do when you have a dispute in such a circumstances? You don't go to court. You just take 2 people and give them over the case, and they should. So she didn't have anybody. She didn't know. So she was a young kid, 18 years old. So somebody told her, here's a young man who looks like a smart man, and he knows. That's what they told her. I overheard the conversation. I didn't want to take part in all these things. So she came to me. She says, do you want to be my arbiter in this case? So what kind of a case? She says, my sister-in-law, something, and I want half of it because it was my brother. I said, okay. That's how I met this young lady.
This is a good opportunity for me to, if you don't mind, my asking you a question. When your family had to leave your family home, were you able to take anything with you?
Nothing.
You
Nothing.
went with just the clothes on your back.
Nothing.
Did you have
When we
jewelry?
came to Starachowicz, nothing. But they were in this small camp. They had an opportunity. They gave away to some Gentiles. They gave away also. Novak had some things. They had an opportunity to have something. They checked. I remember they checked in the ties when we came to Starachowicz. They checked if I had dollars in the tie. We had American dollars in the tie. In some other places they called whoever is going to have, if they're going to find by somebody anything from jewelry or money is going to be shot on the place. I took out the dollars and I threw them away.
Where did you get an American dollar? Okay. Where did you get American dollars?
We bought it.
From whom?
First of all, I had here an uncle. He used to send us always $5 in a letter. And it was big money, $5. Big money. Secondly, we bought it. Somehow, there was a country. There was 30 million people in Poland. 32 million people. We could buy it. Now it's forbidden to have dollars in Poland. Go out on the street, you can buy dollars. You can buy dollars in Russia too. We bought it. Instead of $5 zlotys and 20 cents, we paid 10, 12. We had some dollars. And we were in this camp, and at this time I met my wife. And one day...
Your arbitration must have been in her favor.
Huh?
Your arbitration.
No, I don't remember even what had happened. It was a simple case. You just had to push it. So we, and one day, it was in August, I think. No, it was later maybe. They came. They're going to take us out to Auschwitz. They combined all the three barracks, all the three camps, so-called camps, different camps. And they took us to a place, a certain place, a wilderness nearby. They kept us over there.
Which was everybody from the
these
camp?
three
from
camps,
these three camps.
everybody. And there was a story with my sister-in-law who wanted to kill the German, which I don't want to talk about. She lives in Charleston, South Carolina. And she was killed by the German, and she was not killed. He looked for her. It was a whole story, which I don't want to go into this, because this is her story. So, and we came to Auschwitz.
How did they transport you to Auschwitz?
Yeah, to Auschwitz. We left Tuesday night, and we came Sunday.
From Tuesday till Sunday,
without a piece of bread, just what we had with us. In the language of the camp inmates, that was organized. It's called that organized. We organized cigarettes, we organized bread, we organized a little bit soup. It was called organized. I even wrote an article about all these words which were coined in the camps. It was printed in 1946. It was printed.
You had advance notice. Did you know where you were going?
Yeah, they told us. No, they did. Pardon me. They didn't know. They didn't know. Nobody knew. They just put us on the wagons, open wagons, and they sent us out.
These were horse-drawn wagons?
Yeah, yeah. No, not horse-drawn. Trains, but open train wagons.
Boxcars.
It was far away. It was far. But we came to a city. We stopped in a city, Częstochowa, and I saw, because nobody knew, because I was familiar with the route. We going in this route, I said to the people, there were maybe 50 wagons like this. I said to my people, I said, we're going to Auschwitz, take my word. They told us they're taking us some place to Germany. I said to them, remember, I know the route. I knew from before, I know the route. We going to Auschwitz. We came Sunday morning to Auschwitz.
What were the conditions? And you never got out of these boxcars?
No, never got out.
You had no sanitary facilities, no toilets, no water, nothing?
Nothing.
Did everybody survive that trip?
So, no, not everybody survived. You know who didn't survive? Who wanted to have good. There were certain wagons, 2 or 3 wagons, enclosed ones. In those big shots, there were always big shots. In every situation, in every circumstance, you have big shots. They went into the enclosed, they didn't survive.
They suffocated?
They started to kill each other. They started to complain one to another. Nobody survived from these wagons, the 3 wagons. But we were in open wagons and we survived somehow. We came to Auschwitz on Sunday morning, and it was Tisha B'Av. You know what Tisha B'Av? On Tisha, August the 1st, I think it was, came to Auschwitz. If you looked out, we saw like dead people walking. Dead people. People in blankets and people without clothes. They took us into the camp. When they took us into the camp, an orchestra played in the front.
These people that you saw in the blankets were outside?
Outside. They walked.
Outside the
in Auschwitz,
fences?
there were about 100 barracks. Each barrack contained, and maybe more, each barrack contained 600 people. So they walked from one barrack to the other, So an orchestra was there and played the nicest music, a French orchestra. And by the way, later I found out that the conductor's name was Weintraub. And on the head of the entrance was Arbeit macht das Leben süß.
Work makes you free.
So we came in, so we found out we don't have any room. They didn't have any barracks to put us. So there were 3,000 gypsies. They took out the 3,000 gypsies in one day to the crematorium, they burned them, and made rooms for us. And we went into the barracks. I don't have to tell you, there were 600 people in a barrack. The sanitation conditions were terrible. There was one big, can outside. Every day, 2 other people or 4 other people had to carry out this. And they gave us a ration, a piece of bread so big, and a little bit soup, water. What went on in this Auschwitz, I cannot describe you. Right away they took us to work. It was not necessarily the whole work, was nothing. Because we had a sentence to be dead, They just couldn't kill all of us in one time. They took us from one place to pick up a stone here and put them here. The next day we took the stone from here and put them here. In Auschwitz there were 4 crematoriums. We went in 4 saunas. Before they went into the crematorium, everybody had to undress, go into the sauna, and be gassed. The gas was on top. There were holes, the gas leaked through, and from the crematorium, from this gas chamber, they brought us to the crematorium.
You took the bodies.
I took the bodies. I saw later on, when I was already a native, about 2-3 weeks later, I saw how they took the bodies on also on railroad lorries, like it was trains, open trains. They took them from there to this place. One time there was not enough, and the Hungarian transport came. It was already over 1 million people in Auschwitz. They couldn't just say divide it, they sent them to Buna, there's near Auschwitz, they sent them to other. So Eichmann came, and it was Blocksperre. That means nobody goes out, nobody goes to work, nobody goes out. He came and he left an order to dig a big hole, pit, and throw in the bodies over there, but they cannot. But the crematoriums work 24 hours a day. They just couldn't. There were 3 million Polish Jews, and 1 million Hungarian Jews, 800,000 Romanian Jews, Jews from Turkey and from France, and from all over the world. And besides this, there were Poles also.
There were
political prisoners. There were Poles. And there were Germans, political prisoners, Russian POWs.
And they were being exterminated?
Exterminated, or they were dead in another form. One way, one form, the other, they were dead. So we were in Auschwitz, and I tried to see my future wife. She was also, but the women were separate and the men were separate, and I found her once. And I asked, on the other side, it was a wall, on the other side of the wall I saw her, so and I asked her, did you eat today? She says, yes. And I saw that's, yes, qualified, yes. So it so happened that my brother, who was more doer than I was, he gave me before half a loaf of bread, which was
a treasure.
So I gave her a piece of bread. The next day, she said, I saw he didn't have any shoes. The shoes were torn. So my brother brought her a pair of shoes, so they were too small. So it's so we went on. So till just not gonna do I saw there was a revolt in Auschwitz too.
What about that?
At the gas chamber, at the crematoriums, they revolted and they threw in the main German capo in the oven. He made him too much trouble. They knew they didn't have any chance to live, because every 3 months they took the working 150 people working at the crematoriums, and they sent them away, they gassed them. So they knew anyway, it's a matter only of time. So they took them and threw them but all these things, I knew what's going on outside. And I even had a German paper, which you couldn't have any news, because according to German paper, everything was fine and well on the front, and
how was this possible?
Possible, everything is possible. There were a commando, there were a group who called themselves roofers. My brother said he's a roofer. And he's like, he was a roofer, he didn't know what a roof is. So he went out with the roofers. So he went into a German did some work, we gave him a piece of bread, they brought us in. So others were interested in a paper or an old paper. There was a commander who was shoemakers. So a lot of people were shoemakers. They went out shoemakers. So shoemakers. So they went out outside shoemakers. The women had not good in Auschwitz, very bad, because they had a special camp which they treated them very, very bad. My wife was not in this camp, especially the transports from Hungary in Czechoslovakia.
This was a different section of Auschwitz that you're talking about.
Yeah. So then from Auschwitz came a day, the 26th of October, 44. We have to come all around. You and everybody should stay on the... There were hundreds, maybe 200,000 people. Everybody was standing. They gave us a little bit coffee made out of leaves. From leaves. They just should get a color, a coffee and a piece of bread, and they told us we're going. Transport.
How were everybody, or were there chosen?
No, not everybody.
How were they chosen?
Just a group. They picked out certain groups. We have to go. They took us to the railroad station. We were in the wagons, the same wagons. And they took us. We didn't know where we were going. We came.
And you didn't know why you were selected?
No. They just... And they took us, and we came to Oranienburg-Sachsenhausen near Berlin. In Oranienburg-Sachsenhausen was a camp, but a better camp. Over there they made the counterfeit money, counterfeit dollars. It's called a better camp. They made counterfeit documents, the espionage. It was a camp like this, but it was 30 miles from Berlin. And every time when they bombed Berlin, it was every night, we had to run out from the barrack in the forest. One time I said, the hell, I don't want to go, I don't want to live, I don't want to... No, I had to go out. But going out, we didn't supposed to take anything with me. So I left the blanket. I came back, I didn't have the blanket. So we were there about 3 weeks in Oranienburg-Sachsenhausen.
Was this a work camp, too? Did you
Nothing,
work there?
I don't know. Nothing. I didn't do any work.
No?
That's what we talked. We were friends. We got together. We talked. This is the worst thing. We said, this is it. If they took you to a camp where you don't work, that's the end of it.
How did you spend your day?
Nothing. Walking on the sidewalk. Getting up to the appeal in the morning, 5 o'clock, and standing there till 9. And for
that was for roll call?
Roll call, yeah. And that's all. So the 26th of October, they said, this was not Auschwitz. This was in Auschwitz, it's October. This was February the 3rd or the 4th was already. We had to go. So a day before, I was working with a man, his name was Wolfowicz. And we walked and talking, well, what's going to be, what. Before us walked a man, an older man, and he stick his finger in his ears and fell out a piece of cotton. Fell out. And it's possible. But I was somehow proud that we had picked up the piece of cotton. Took out the piece of cotton, there was a diamond inside. So how do you divide? It would be 2 diamonds we could divide. But how do you divide the 1 diamond between 2 people? So we made up that we're going to stay when they're going to send us out. He is W and I am W. And we're going to stay one behind the other, so we will be in one camp, and wherever they will send us, at that time we will... It so happened they cut off between us. They cut off between us, and he is left with the diamond. He was left with the diamond, and he's not alive. They sent him some other place.
Who was the man who had this in his
I don't
hair?
know.
You don't know?
Nobody had a name over there, a number. Nobody had a name. So we went into they took us out from Rheinburg, Sachsenhausen. They took us from the 4th till the 11th of February. We came to Dachau. The barracks were not ready. Water we didn't have because there was new barracks put up. So they told us we should take wash ourselves with snow, because Dachau was a cold climate. We undressed to the half, and we washed ourselves with snow, and towards the evening we went into the barracks. The barracks were smaller, there were only 110 people, 60 on one side we were sleeping, 55 on the other side we were sleeping. In Dachau we didn't have any work either. But to tell you stories from it's just unbelievable. I mean, for Passover, I didn't want to eat any bread. This piece of bread, I didn't want to eat. So
how did you keep track of the
I still making it show, but
I'm sure you are. Look, you can't tell in 2 hours what it took years.
How did we know the dates? Somehow we knew. We knew everything what's going on outside of the world. We knew. So we didn't want to eat. I didn't want to eat. There were 3 people who didn't want to eat bread on Pesach. I had it was so stubborn things. I said, because of this thing, we have to keep up our faith. If we will put in our mind only to the gun and to the bread, we are lost anyway. We have to keep up to divert our mind to something else. So we went in 3 people to the kitchen, and it was the cook was a Jewish couple. And I came to him and I said to him, all the 3 are alive. One is a rabbi in Pittsburgh, one is in Muncie. So we went into him and asked him, we have a request from you. Don't give us bread, and we have no chutzpah to ask you to give us potatoes instead of bread, but give us potato peels. Well, potato peels, so he was standing and mashing potatoes with a big stick, like, you know how the mashed potatoes... He took the stick, he beat us up, all the 3. And we thank God we are out alive. We exchanged with other people. This is only one little story. In Dachau. I was in the barrack where 115 people were. Next to me was sleeping one side a doctor, writer, and the next side was a writer, but he was in Poland, a communist. He's now in Israel, an old man, and also the next, it was a man. He says he was an actor in Poland. Perlmutter, I remember his name was. So what do you... he wants to play the dibuk in the camp. So what do you know about the dibuk? You have nothing? He says he remembers only the second act of the dibuk by heart. So I went into the capo and I asked him, somehow he had a little bit respect for me.
The capo is the supervisor?
The capo was the supervisor, yeah. A little respect, because all of them, when it came to food, they all killed each other over pieces of food and all made trouble. I didn't make any trouble. I was the last one to take the food. Somehow, I don't know. I said he's a man, he wants to play. So he started to scream, but he gave so he played the book in Dachau. This is only because of stubbornness, to take away your mind from all these things, what's going on. At Dachau, I found once a chumash. You know what a chumash is?
What is that?
This is one of the Bible. Found the Bible. And it was Purim. I came to the barrack and I said, Chavro, it means, boys, we have, tonight is Purim, and I have a chumash, and we're going to read the Megillah here. Despite of the Nazis, despite of the Germans, we're going to read here the Megillah. So a man who more religious than me says to me, well, you are endangering the life of everybody. I said, I don't care. You need more the Megillah. You are more religious than I am. But I won't do it despite. In case if I will survive, I will be able to say that under the nose of SS, I read the Megillah. And I read the Megillah. And people.
Were there selections?
Sure, wait, I will tell you about the selection. One day, we came from Vorg, I told you what Vorg was, a stone here, a stone there. Everybody from these two barracks, about 700 people, should stay outside. And they made a selection. They need 400 people for another barrack, like 7, it was a death camp. In Dachau, there were certain camps which were better and certain camps which we knew. And everybody should undress, just keep your shoes and your belt with you. That's all. So there were 3 or 4 and 2 Jewish policemen. It was Jewish police. Were standing one on this side and one on the other side of the group. And they came and they were watching us, and the selection was whoever they didn't like, they put him on one side, and the others were standing. And so happened they took me and put me on the other side to send away. I didn't look bad, but somehow. So I didn't pay too much attention to this. I took my shoes and my belt, and I walked over to the other side. This man, this Jewish policeman saw it, and he didn't say a word. And that's how I survived. After the war, there was a Jewish kangaroo court, they were together people, and he's alive, he's still alive. And they want me as a witness against him because he beat up, he killed people. I said...
Are you talking about the Jewish
policeman? Yeah. I said, because he saved my life, I cannot, although I know he beat up people, he did wrong, everything, but because he saved my life, I can't be objective and I can't be a witness to this, and I didn't go to this court.
Was this in the DP camp?
In Dachau.
Oh, in Dachau,
In Dachau.
after.
In Dachau. In Dachau. I could tell you stories. Then this doctor came to me, it was about April the 20th or April the 15th, I don't remember. He came to me, he says, you know, the Germans are losing the war. I know. The Americans are close. You know what we should do? When they're going to come to take us out, we're going to revolt, we're going to make a revolution. We're not going. So, okay, revolution, what's the difference? There's no difference. The 25th of April, the night, they took us out, they came in, everybody has to go out from the barracks, and you're going of transport. So instead of making the revolution, everybody ran to the kitchen. I ran to the kitchen, I got 70 potatoes. How do you carry 70 potatoes?
I'm just about to ask you.
I had a military rucksack, a knapsack, and I put in the 70, but still, if you go on transport to carry 70 potatoes. But at the same time, when I took the potatoes, some other people took cabbage and beets and other things from the kitchen. So we made a trade. For 2 potatoes, I got a little bit cabbage. For 2 potatoes, I got a little... We traded off this, so it was easier for me, and I didn't eat just potatoes. So but we started to walk, so we found out they're taking us to be killed in the Tiroler mountains of Tyrol in Italy. It was not far. It was a few hundred miles. What does it mean, a couple hundred miles, 300 miles? So but the Americans ran faster. On the way to the mountains of Tyrol, the 28th of April, it was the worst night in all the 6 years. First of all, the conditions we didn't have, we had to sleep, we slept on a hill. Can you sleep on a hill? Then we didn't see already the Germans, the German guards. One doctor, a German doctor, was around. We didn't know if you are liberated or you are not liberated. That is the worst time when you are in limbo. You don't know what you're liberated. I'm telling you, this was the worst day in the life of the whole 6 years. So we still were walking. So we walked till the 30th of April. We came to a place called Buchberg. In the meantime, it came a messenger to the Lagerführer, to the leader of the SS wants to have this transport under their supervision. So the Lagerführer, a German, says, no, these are meine Juden. These are my Jews, and I'm not giving them out. Back and forth, and he did not want to give out our transport. And after the war, when the Americans came in, they wanted to kill him right away. We didn't let him.
You saved him.
We didn't let him. So the 30th, again the same thing. There was no German at all. And we didn't know, can we go out or can we not go out?
How many of you were in this march?
About 3,500. It was only one segment. Because the others were Allah.
Did you walk in a column?
Column 5. I'll tell you about this. Another little story. The column. The 30th, we didn't know. Finally, May the 1st, we were laying the whole night, not sleeping, not being up, not knowing what. May the 1st, we see a jeep, an American chaplain, not a Jewish chaplain, an American chaplain, and 2 officers, American came in and says, "You are liberated." So if you are liberated, so what do you think, what did I do? I let a tear. And I took 3 bricks and put up 2 bricks this way, 1 brick on top. I had a few potatoes, and I started to cook the potatoes. Started to cook the potatoes. Telling about the transport, we walked in a column. We walked in a column 5 in 1 row. We walking, and there's laying again a knapsack on the ground. I picked it up. The other one says in Yiddish, "Shitves." It means partners. We opened the knapsack. We found a half of bread. That was like from heaven, a half of bread. We opened the bread and we found 2 rings, 2 watches, and some other things. This was bitter. We expected bread. Here we have rings with watches. Who needs this? We can throw away. So he took the watches and I took the rings. And I said to myself, in case we will be liberated, these are going to be the 2 rings. Here are the 2 rings. Otherwise, I don't wear a ring. Religious Jews don't wear a ring. It's inscribed the date of our marriage.
Your wife has one,
Only
and
mine.
you have one.
March the 19th, we got married. Next week is going to be our anniversary. This week it is. These are the 2 rings. Can you
Can't
imagine
imagine that.
So we were.
Your wife was on the march with you also?
No, she went to Ravensbrück. To Bergen-Belsen. I went
From
to Dachau.
Dachau?
No, not from Dachau. From Auschwitz. Could you stop? I want to tell my wife something. I want to tell my wife something. When we were liberated, so they put us in certain rooms, 6 in a room.
Where is this
in
now?
Buchberg. That was
What country?
Germany.
Germany?
In Germany. That was near Munich, near Dachau. It was maybe 100 miles from Dachau. They put us in 6 people in a room, and the Americans brought in right away food. The necessities, I mean, bread and potatoes and our 6 people had different tasks. I had the task to bring food, to go out and, I told you, organize food for some place. Where would go out? To the American soldiers, the American army. So instead to go out, I went once to go out for food, and I saw a basement full with books. It was Franz Kafka and Wassermann and Stephen Zweig and all this. And I couldn't resist. I brought back the books. The boys wanted to kill me. They wanted to kill me. What, we send you out? Okay, I will do better tomorrow. I went the next day. So an American soldier gave me a big can, maybe 10 pound can of something which we didn't know what it is. We couldn't read any English. We didn't know what it is. It was egg powder.
What was it?
Egg powder.
Egg powder?
If you never saw it in Europe, egg powder. We knew you want to eat an omelette, you have to have
break
eggs.
an egg.
So I brought this, so they called me, Meshugine, what did you bring? What? I said it must be because he gave me this and they're eating this. I didn't. So we tried a half a day. We started to read and a word and a word. So somehow we took water and we put in a little bit. We have here an omelette. So we had to. Then one had the task of going right away. You see, that's how we were alert, aware. Right away, there was a camp Feldefink. You probably heard of the camp Feldefink, big camp. They organized a service which everybody had to come in and tell who survived and for whom they are looking. And it started right away a movement of moving from one camp to the other to look for family, for survivors. And
Excuse me, did any of you, was any part of your family with you?
No, nobody. So I came, one had the task to go every day to Munich, to Feldefink, and find, and bring a list. Maybe our name is there, maybe somebody's looking for me, maybe. One day he comes in, he starts screaming, Shmuel, he says, my name is Shmuel, I found your name. I found your name, and this lady looks for you. She says, my wife. She was not a wife at that time, but one went, she was liberated in Bergen-Belsen, and she was sending a piece of paper with somebody who already went to Feldefink, that she's looking for these and these people. So, and this was posted on, before a day I said to him, if you're going to find my name, you got to... I knew that she is in Bergen-Belsen. Where's Bergen-Belsen? We were in the south in the south of Germany. Bergen-Belsen is in the north, near Hanover. That was Friday. I didn't want to write already on Shabbos. I didn't want to write. So I had nothing. The only thing what I had, after the liberation, people went into the Germans and grabbed everything what they could. I just went into one house and I said, I want a shirt. I still have the shirt. I took my shirt under my arms. Saturday night, I went to the train to Munich. There were no trains, only coal trains. But they brought coal from one place to the others, and they were attached a couple. I got to the train, and I went down, and we were riding 8 days, from Saturday night till Friday afternoon, till I came to Bergen.
In a boxcar again?
Not in a boxcar, it was already
a regular passenger train.
Two boxes were attached.
Did you have to buy a ticket?
No, ticket. They wouldn't dare ask a ticket. They saw we are DPs. Better, we stopped in big cities. I went down, I went to the mayor and said, we are DPs, you have to give us to eat. That time they were afraid, DPs. They gave us bread and they gave us other things. The only thing was they didn't give us, it was cigarettes. I didn't smoke at that time. But cigarettes was a commodity. You could buy everything with cigarettes. Cigarettes, ich habe nicht.
So you could just go in and ask for whatever you needed?
Well, yeah, that time. It was right after, 2 weeks after the liberation.
After the armistice, the truce.
So we went in, it was 8 days. We went in Hanover, we went in Kassel, we went in other cities, I don't remember. We got bread, I had full of bread, full of... I left it later on the train. I came to Bergen-Belsen Friday afternoon, and it comes across a girl, she was in camp with us. She says to me, the same thing that she wrote, this piece of paper, I wrote also a piece of paper for whom I look for. And this piece of paper came to Bergen-Belsen. So my brother came to Bergen-Belsen, and he saw that I am there in Feldafing. He ran to me, and I ran to him. She says to me, I just saw her this week in the hotel. She ran to me, Schmidt, your brother Leon was here, and he's looking for you. He went to see you. So I came and I found this, my color, and there were 6 or 8 women sleeping in one room.
Now, where was she? Where?
In Bergen-Belsen.
This was still Bergen-Belsen. Now this is...
Camp. It was a liberated camp.
Now it was
they were
liberated.
liberated 2 weeks earlier, April the 15th. And she was a nurse in the hospital, makeshift hospital, but it was a good hospital, good doctors. So found her, and then we found out through an accident that my father was alive in Poland. They left, when they evacuated Auschwitz, they left one barrack of 600 old people to be gassed a day later. And it so happened the night before the Russians came in. They couldn't have time. And my father was among the 600, and he went back to Poland. So a woman who knew writes a letter to another friend that the old man Weintraub asks if somebody is left over from the family. So we got the letters. I found that he is in Poland. I didn't want to go back to Poland. Never going to go back. So I sent my brother. He brought him into Bergen-Belsen. I came to Bergen-Belsen, and I started to... I right away started... First of all, I asked a friend of mine who worked in the storage room, but I want not food, nothing. There came packages from America already. From the United States and from England came already packages. Old clothes with whatever, it was good. So I came from the United... one thing I want to... Give me papers. Everything was wrapped in Yiddish papers. Give me papers. Let me see what's going on in the world. We were enclosed. We didn't know what's going on in the Jewish world. Are there any Jews left? Do they think about us? So he brought me papers. And at the paper I found, I have another brother. He's in America. He was in America from 1939. He wrote articles. He was a big shot, the president of the Zionist organization. I found out. Then there was a committee already in Bergen-Belsen of the Jewish people to take care of their needs. The American Joint Distribution Committee came in with food. The Jewish Relief came in from England with other things. Even a needle, a thread we needed, they brought us. Mm-hmm. I mean, those small things you don't pay attention now to now, but at that time it was. So she used to live in, my wife, in 2 rooms. So the chairman of the committee asked to give away a room, and we were 3 families. It was called the White House because all the 3 prominent people lived in this. No police, even a British MP couldn't come into this house. And right away they took me into the committee, and I had the
This
votes.
is the committee that governed the camp.
Yeah, camp. It was 11,000 people. And the worst tasks they gave me to try to get food and accommodations for the people. I don't have to tell you, whatever you do for our Jewish people, it's not enough. Somebody you gave a nicer room, and me you gave a smaller room. The other one got a whole package of cigarettes, and I got only a half a package of cigarettes. But listen, I was not a madman, and I never get excited.
You did the best you could.
Then Ben Gurion came.
To Bergen-Belsen?
A year later, exactly October 26th. We had a meeting with him only 3-4 days later. I have the picture here. We had a meeting, 4 people. And Ben Gurion told us, not in the exact words, that it's going on a bricha. Bricha means we transferring people from Russia and from Poland to Israel illegal. There was the Aliyah bet, the illegal Aliyah. My task is to provide the people with food and passports. So we had to give, how do you take food, first of all? We gave a list to the British people, the general, colonel, I don't know who was there in charge. He always asked for lists. We gave him a list for 17,000 people.
Excuse me, you are in Bergen-Belsen, and you are in charge of food and passports for the people coming from Russia.
And everybody.
From
but
the illegal.
Illegal, yeah.
Yeah.
This was...
and you were working with what organizations?
With all organizations. With all organizations. There was no difference. The Jews, as long as they're Jews and they're coming, and we send them out right away.
With UNRWA, with joint distribution,
with joint distribution, with
Hayas.
Hayas. Hayas, I found out Hayas man was my relative, Kreitzer. we used to have good times at that time. We didn't worry about anything. We had nothing. So we, how do you get food? So I gave him a list of 17,000 people. He asked for a list. We gave him, instead of 11, we gave 70,000 to have a leeway. I'm not going to take away from the people who are here and give to other people. There would be a revolution. But this went on for a few weeks. Then later they surrounded the camp. The British occupation forces surrounded the camp, and they said they're going to count.
They're going to count
the
people.
They don't believe there are 17,000 people. And so it happened that I was in charge at that night because the chairman, the president of the organization, was in England. So I had an interpreter. There was Professor Brodetsky and Rabbi Koppel Rosen. Very fine man. So they said, we're going to count. I said, we're not going to count. They said, we're going to count. I said, we're not going to count. I said in Yiddish, and they translated. The rabbi says to me, what do you want? They want to count. They're giving you to eat. I told him, you know what? Do they count the people in London? Are we free people? You don't want to give us to eat? Don't give us. We lost so many millions, so another 17,000 will starve, that's all. The British people know how to lose a fight. So with a smile, he told me, in 3 days, if you provide me with a list of 17,000 people by the blocks, by the barracks, so I think I told you the story, we put up a list, we sat down, late night work, but somebody put on unknown in certain rooms, and he ran out of names. How many Silversteins and Silverbergs and can you
think of?
So put on unknown. So I brought a list with the interpreter, woman, Yanka was her name. Yeah. Brought a list to this Colonel Murphy. Gave him the list. He takes the list and looks. He says, "Do you know all these people?" "Sure, I know them." "Do you know this Mr. Unknown?" He asked him. "Sure, I know the Mr. Unknown." So with a smile, he gave me back the list. It's okay. So then we had the first conference. The first conference, what we called, we had a different setup. We took in, there were other camps besides Bergen-Belsen. There was Kaunitz and Celle and Hanover, and there were Jewish communities, Hamburg. There were remnants of the Jewish in Hanover, in Osnabrück, in Düsseldorf. We made all one group out of these because they were interested also, because they had food. We gave them food. So we had the first conference in Bergen-Belsen. So you know who was there? The interpreter ours. He was at the British Army, Chaim Herzog. He's going to be the new president in Israel. Chaim Herzog. He was the son of the late Rabbi Herzog. So the Colonel Murphy sent him to this conference, and he should be the
Spokesman.
Not the spokesman, but he should give him a report. But before, he wants to know who is going to be the speakers on this conference. What's going to be... So the president, Mr. Rosensaft, said to him, Silverman, MP, a member of parliament from England, Meyer Grabowski, he was the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee in Israel, Meyer, and another few people, who else? So he got mad. He says, Moshe Rabbeinu. So he marked down Moshe Rabbeinu. Later,
Now interpret that.
Moshe Rabbeinu, you don't know Moses.
I didn't know.
Moses. So he marked down Moshe Rabbeinu. So after he gave him the report, so he gave him this. Where is Moshe Rabbeinu? Was he there?
Well, he didn't know. I didn't know.
These things. But we did a tremendous work with the Exodus. The Exodus, it was not the name Exodus. It was a name, it is just a name taken. I had to provide them food. I had to provide them with all the necessary things. That was a true story, Exodus. We sent it out from Liebeck. All the ships went out with the illegal Aliyah. For 4 years, from 1945 till 1949, when I left, I was in the committee. They called me the mayor because I had all the essential things in my hand. So I had to go through and fight with everybody. And all these things we had already debates and great disputes, parties. Right away it was Zionist and anti-Zionist and Aguda and others. We had already those disputes. In 1946 was the first Zionist Congress after the war. I went there as a delegate. And we were there, we met people, we cried. We cried, and I remember there was a rabbi, the president, Zalman Shazal. He spoke about the people who passed away for 4 hours.
On what date did you leave Europe?
Europe?
Yes.
I left Europe in end of July 1949.
Why did you leave?
I wanted to go. What do I have to do in Europe? To be in a cemetery? For me, is Europe a cemetery? I wanted to go to Israel. My wife didn't want to go, so I came to America. The brother here. So then after him he spoke Rabbi Nurok. He has here a nephew, is the director of the Bank Leumi. Can you imagine, after 6 years being with Hitler, and so many millions gone, and here we are on a Zionist Congress, and we are put on demands to the empire of Great Britain, and we protesting against Roosevelt and against Simpson, whatever it is, his assistant was, and we protesting after being slaves worse than in Egypt, with a sentence to die. So I came here to America, and till about a couple of years ago, I was active in all the organizations. Honored by bonds. I'm a member in the board of directors of the yeshiva in Chicago, Skokie Hebrew Theological College. I'm a member of the Associated Talmud Torah. I'm a member of bonds. I'm a member of the United Jewish Folk. All over, but since 2 years, since I contacted my angina, I have it for a long time, but since 2 years I'm a little bit
limited.
But still, thanks God, I'm giving, and I help to God, and I pray to God. My children, I hope they will go on my footsteps, and I have children and grandchildren, lovely grandchildren. They're going to the Hebrew Academy. One had a bas mitzvah last week, and my son-in-law is a very well-known doctor at cement here in the city. The mayor is a cousin, and we just pray to God to have health, good health, and it should be peace in the world, peace for everybody, especially for the Jewish people.
How did you learn